Want to talk about mortgage rates? Yeah, I don't blame you, because latest figures show that the evergreen dream of one day buying your own home might turn out to be an economic nightmare. People who buy are now spending twice as much of their income on mortgages as renters are on paying rent.
The figures are certainly showing that paying a mortgage is going to absorb more of your income. Now, a lot of that's to do with the current high state of mortgage rates themselves. A while ago they were 2 or 2.5, now they're 7. So it is quite a bit more expensive now to pay a mortgage than pay rent.
It's always cost more each week to pay off a house than to rent, but just 10 years ago the difference was more like this. 20% on rent compared to 31% on a mortgage. 5 years ago it was 21% compared to 38%. Now look at the state of it, 22% for rent, 49% for mortgage, and that's just on average. In Tauranga, a mortgage will suck up 65% of your income compared to 29% for renters.
I think we've probably reached a plateau in some ways for mortgage payments as a share of incomes, because it does look like house prices have reached a floor now. So if house prices flatten off and perhaps even start to increase a little bit, it's hard to see housing affordability getting much better.
So is the home owning dream really just a siren's call to a big financial mistake?
Financial advisor and founder of Enable Me, Hannah McQueen, joins us now. Hannah, traditionally it's been that you pay more for a mortgage, but with the capital gains, it's still a better investment overall. Is that still true?
Yeah, well, what property allows you to do is it allows you to borrow money from the bank and you buy this asset that you wouldn't normally be able to afford with your own cash, and you get a capital growth on that asset. And that leveraged asset growth normally is 2 to 3 times larger than if you invested in a non-property or an unleveraged asset. So property still performs better than other asset classes if you're able to use leverage. And for many of us, we need to use leverage to try and close out our retirement savings gap. So there's still a lot of money to be made with owning property, just whether you should be living in the property you own, that is less certain now because of other extenuating circumstances.
Is this gap unusual from an international perspective, or are we now more in line with the situation in other countries?
Well, I think we're more extreme in New Zealand because income to house prices is one of the worst in the developed world, and I think that's starting to have a brunt on first home buyers. But at the same time, we have this love affair with property here. So in Europe, for example, it's not as common to own your own home. It's more common to rent and to put your investments towards something else. So I think we're opening up a different path for people who are coming onto the coming onto the property market, to give them more options around how they should own their first property.
Okay, so what if I've looked at the numbers and decided just to rent forever instead of buy? Any advice for me?
Yeah, well, the problem with that is you're going to be paying rent in retirement. So even if you're paying $500 a week, you're going to need an extra $600,000 of retirement savings to fund the fact that you still have this ongoing cost that a homeowner who's paid off their mortgage wouldn't have. So I think the key there is that renting is a cheaper way to live than owning your own home, but you have to accompany that with the right wealth strategy, and that strategy is most likely going to include still owning a property, but more as an investment rather than a home.
A bit of news today that property prices might be going to start heading up again. Do you think that is going to help this gap, or is it going to make it worse?
I think it's going to widen the gap, so it's going to be more attractive to continue renting than aiming to buy your first property as your home. I think that house prices will continue to increase. We know that rents don't go up at the same rate normally as the housing market, so you'll benefit more as a renter than as someone who's trying to save to get onto the property ladder themselves.
Hannah McQueen, thank you for your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
Welcome along to the project. Got a full house here tonight, and Antonio Preble is here. Sorry. I should have said we've got a full house tonight because Antonia Prebble is here.
It's so kind of you.
Tough first story, tough for a lot of people at the moment.
It really is. As Hannah said, we have a love affair with property in New Zealand. It is so central to our identity as Kiwis to own our own home and live in that home. So it really is so tough. These statistics are just so hard.
I wish this could be like a good news story, a sexy little rent is a winning story, but we don't really have all the cool things that make renting so attractive and such a safe thing to do if you live in Europe. We don't have rent control. We don't have great quality rental homes to live in. We don't have Europe.
Yeah, there's no certainty as a renter. There's no certainty. You can't really put down roots in your house.
You're onto something, though, the idea of making renting cool. Like, remember how we made the bus cool? Bus didn't used to be cool. Now it's really cool.
What?
Yeah.
Same thing with renting.
It's really cool, but it's just like never runs.
I'm not sure if Jessie knows what a bus is.